Rev up your engines! Today I'm working on a 13-year-old Nissan Xterra that is 177,000 miles, isn't running just right, and makes a clunking noise when you decelerate a lot. The customer wants to know, should he continue to throw money into this thing, or should he get rid of it? I'm going to prove one way or another what would be the smart thing to do. Now the Steelman chassis here is pretty cool. It's got 4 of these units that are sending units. You clip them on various parts of the vehicle and take it for a drive. It's often very hard to diagnose noises that occur only when you're decelerating in a vehicle with all 4 wheels on the ground. For example, this thing, if you put it up in the air and step on the gas and let go, you won't hear the noise. You only hear it when the load is on it and you take your foot off the gas. Now these Xterras have a history of transmission problems, so I'm going to put a couple of these on a transmission, another one on an engine, and then drive it around. It's really simple to install. We'll put this one on the motor here, then we'll put the main unit, we'll clip it on this hose just so it doesn't get stuck on anything or bounce around. And we'll crawl under the vehicle here, and we'll stick one on the transmission. We'll just clip it on here and put the little device here so it's clamped on tight. Then we'll turn it on and take it for a ride. And as you can see here, these things are pretty sensitive. It's going to hear any noise that's occurring on the vehicle. Then we just drive it around with the headphones on, switch it from channel to channel on this until we hear the noise the loudest. And guess what? The noise was the loudest, the one I hooked up to the transmission. So it's an internal transmission noise. And since the check engine light is on, we're going to put the scan tool in. Just plug it right in. See what it has to say. What does it say? It says P0730, gear ratio incorrect. Now theoretically there are quite a few things that can actually cause that. But I've worked on enough of these Xterras to know that when you get a clunking noise coming out of the transmission and it's got the code for incorrect gear ratio, that means the inside of the transmission is starting to break down. Now in this case, hey, the vehicle's 13 years old, has 177,000 miles on it. It's really not worth either having the transmission rebuilt or replaced. Now these transmissions are known failure items in these Xterras for more than one reason. So it's not a deal where you could think, oh well, I'll try to get a used transmission and put it in. Because odds are the used transmission won't be any good either. It's in a vehicle that's known for having problems. It's 13 years old, and if you buy one from a junkyard, it's from one that was put in a junkyard for good reason, so you don't want to try a used tranny on one of these. Now yes, it still looks good, doesn't ride all that bad, but with this transmission starting to go out, I'm going to advise the customer, get rid of it sooner than later. Now it's his vehicle and he can do whatever he wants. I mean, heck, I'll also tell him, if you want, just keep driving the thing. Sometimes he'll still go for a while, clunking here and there, but still drive down the road. 13 years old with 177,000 miles. Odds are he's not going to be able to get much for it if he tries selling it. But at least now, he knows what's actually going on with the vehicle. It's one reason I advise people not to buy Nissans these days, because their automatic transmissions are pretty crappy. And I see them going out all the time in these Xterras. Which is one of the reasons you can buy them so cheap secondhand. Because the market pretty much knows they get older, they start to get expensive to repair. Big old SUV with a V6 engine in it. They're pretty much gas hogs too. They don't get the greatest gas mileage. Now it has gone 177,000 miles, but it had to have all the catalytic converters replaced. It's a typical Nissan. When it gets older, it starts to turn into a money pit, and when the transmission starts to go out, you really don't want to get involved in that expensive repair on a vehicle that's hardly worth anything. Because when I scanned the rest of the vehicle, not just the transmission, hey, it had 10 body control module codes, fuel injection system codes. I mean, you don't want to mess around with something like that. There comes a time when the cons outweigh the pros in a car. Then, if you can find an honest mechanic like me, then you can make a wise decision on whether to keep it or whether to get rid of it. But just make sure you have an honest mechanic, because, hey, a lot of guys I know, they'd look at that vehicle and they'd see, ooh, we can make some serious money on this vehicle. And they'd tell the customer, oh, look, it still rides nice. The leather seats inside are still in pretty good shape. I think you should fix this thing up. Knowing very well it's going to put a bunch of money into their pocket. So, on this Xterra, and from my experience, any Nissan these days that has that kind of mileage, 13 years old, you don't want to put too much money into the thing. Because I have had customers that did put too much money in. They either put in a transmission when it went out, or an engine, and in many cases, they used used engines or used transmissions, and about a year later, sometimes less, the engine would go out again or the transmission would go out again, and they threw good money after bad. So never get emotional about your vehicle. Be logical, and above all, either learn how to do it yourself or find a mechanic like me, an honest guy, who's gonna tell you the truth about your machine. Because sure, sometimes the truth hurts, but if you don't listen to the truth, it can often hurt a lot more. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.